Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I got to chat with actress and producer Andrea Evans. You may remember her from shows going back to Chips, the soap opera Passions, her stretch on One Life to Live, or The Bold and the Beautiful. But I'm talking to her today about a documentary she produced called Rocking the Couch, which takes on the issue of sexual abuse and sexual harassment in Hollywood. It's a really well-made documentary that you can find on Amazon Prime, and I was excited to get to talk to her about it and how they put it together. Hope you enjoy. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came to be a producer on Rockin' the Couch and how the project came together?
Well, the way it came together was one of my best friends, Min Collins, who is another one of the executive producers and is the director. He had directed me in a film about 8 years ago, and since we've become fast friends. And we were having coffee, and it was right when the Harvey Weinstein thing was just breaking and Bill Cosby thing was going on, and we kind of looked at each other and said, somebody's going to make a great documentary about this, and we kind of just said, yeah, well, let's do this. So,
yeah.
so
Why not us?
Why not us? So we did. So that's truly how it came about.
One of the things that really struck me about it, I expected it to be one horrible story after another, and it, I mean, it's by nature, but it really brought to light, it did what I needed a documentary to do for me. It brought to light a new thing about the subject for me, which is that I lived through the Wallace case stuff being in the news, and I had completely forgotten about it, simply because of what y'all point out with the text, that this could have been a turning point for SAG-AFTRA, but it wasn't.
Right.
And so it happened, and then I forgot about it. So to the point that in watching the documentary, someone came in the room and asked what I was watching. I said, caught them up on it, and they said, oh, well, does the guy? It was right in the middle of the cop wearing a wire, and do they get him? I said, no, I don't think they bust him, or something would have changed. And then we got to the end, and I went, that's the 90s. No, I remember this, and it didn't change.
Right, very much so. That's kind of the whole point of the documentary, because and I even I lived through the 90s. I was here in Hollywood, and I didn't even know anything about this case.
Yeah, I mean, my jaw fell open at the start of the documentary when y'all mentioned Fatty Arbuckle, and I'm first thing that ran through my head was, what in God's name do you have to do in 1921 to even end up in court? I cannot imagine the burden of evidential proof that it would have taken to even get him into court in that year. And then, we can jump ahead 80 years and still be talking about it. Is just horrifying. As far as getting together the information about this documentary, obviously this is a story that could have been made in 1922 or 1952 or 82. Do you feel like you had better response and better access to people being willing to tell their stories and being willing to talk openly about it now?
Yeah, I do think, and I think the fact that we started right after the Weinstein story broke and everything like that, I think people were more willing to talk. But it's still a difficult subject, and it's hard for people. There were plenty of people we approached that did not want to talk. I think somehow the fact also that we didn't name names, that was a choice. We wanted to just tell the stories. We wanted to tell the stories and try to present sexual harassment, abuse, assault in Hollywood the way it really is. We also show the other side, which is there are people who are willing to do this. That's not what our documentary is about, but that does exist. And also the fact that everybody in the industry was somewhat complicit in the fact that we all saw it. I saw it as well. I saw cases. And it was just such a part of the industry. And I think, not that it isn't a part of other industries, I'm positive it is. But I know my own, and we're the only one that has even a special term for it, the casting couch. that everybody
Yeah.
pretty much knows. And it's just so prevalent, but I think once the doors kind of opened with the Me Too movement and the Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, I mean, it's like a floodwater. You know, it's like somebody poked a hole in the dam and it's all bursting through. I wish it would have happened after the Wallace K case. You know, that would have been great.
But even then, we could have been wishing it happened. You know, if it had happened after the Wallace K case, yeah, we'd have been going, well, why didn't this happen after Fatty Arbuckle?
Well, and, you know, when people mention Fatty Arbuckle to me, you know what I always say, too? I personally don't know anybody. I don't think they're around anymore that was in vaudeville, but I bet it happened back then, too.
Yeah. I'm sure anywhere as far back as we can go that there's an involvement of power and a possible sexual coercion that it's happened. And that's what amazes me, that we still haven't developed this mechanism to look out for it when we know it's there. And like you said, it's so prevalent that it really hadn't clicked for me that I had completely divorced the euphemism of casting couch from this. So that I thought, you know, will people go for the casting couch? Just thinking that meant, no, why would it be a couch?
Right.
That's always got that implicit in its meaning.
Absolutely.
And that's how prevalent.
Yeah, and I'm talking to Min when we were starting to do this, when I'd say, you know, because we shared our own experiences, and he was saying how whenever he said he's wanted to direct a movie, there's always some guy who always says, oh, I'll do the casting for it, meet all the babes.
Yeah.
You know, the casting couch. And it's like it's a joke. But it's not a joke.
Well, and I hadn't considered, I believe it's I'm blanking on her name, Robert Mitchum's granddaughter, but she talks about Jen Nicholson.
Carrie.
Yes, and she speaks about Jen Nicholson saying that almost the opposite thing happened to her career, that the game was so thorough that if you couldn't play it because, you know, your grandfather would kill that person, that nobody wants to screw with Jack, that what good are you? You can't, you know, if they couldn't put Jen Nicholson in that position on the casting couch, then why even invite her in? And I'd never considered that being protected from this would end your career.
You know, and I think that's very true as well. And I think, but even without ending careers, I think you find that the women that had a certain amount of power, whether it's from a man or in their own case, I know for me, I started working very early, and I cut myself out of the film because my stories, I have stories, but they're just not as good. You know, they aren't, and by good, I mean as compelling.
Gotcha.
And I think the reason for that was I had already achieved a certain amount of status and success on a show that I wasn't so disposable, you know, so that kind of eliminated me from the worst of it. But I was still able to keep my career. But it's mostly the poor women trying to get into the business. You know, those are the ones that are easily picked off and easily abused, and because there's no clear path to finding your way in the entertainment industry. You know, when you want to be a lawyer, you know, you got to go to law school, you have to pass the bar, you got to go, you know, intern somewhere, all these kind of things. You want to be a doctor, there's a clear path, residency, you know, and what you do. Yeah. You know, you can just decide tomorrow, I'm going to be in the entertainment industry, and nobody can tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
And that leads to a problem.
And the casting couch game of it is so interwoven into people's kind of gross expectation that almost jumps to, if you try to think of the path of how do you go to Hollywood, that's almost the story that pops to mind.
Right.
Of the common, well, I'm probably going to have to go put up with a certain amount of gross guys.
Right. So it's accepted to some degree in all of our psyches.
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad to see. I understand why it would be an issue that you would have to decide whether or not to name names. For me, it helps the true point of the documentary. Not it's too easy to think, oh, it's that guy, it's that 5 guys, it's just that list of 25 guys, it's just those 100 guys, and instead it gets it across that it's thorough, it's so that anybody past a certain moral boundary knows that they can play in this pool, and that to me was the stronger point that I was kind of glad to get from the documentary, more than simply this list of 5 or 10 guys.
Well, good. I'm glad. And and that also gets dismissed as finger pointing and trying to bring this person down or something like that. And also we did this documentary on our own money. Nobody else was funding it. So we also didn't want any lawsuits either. So there's several reasons, but I think artistically, like you said, it works because it drives home the problem without becoming a he said, she said. It just shows you how prevalent it is.
Mm-hmm. As far as distribution and film festivals and such, how's that gone? Or
well, we're just starting to enter film festivals and stuff. Yeah, we have distribution with Amazon Prime, with Avail Films, and you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I said that wrong, with Avail Films, and they now currently have it on Amazon Prime, and I know we're looking into some other places that are opening up because it's doing so well. And, we're just going to follow this where it goes, and we're already in plans for our next one. So,
oh, that's great.
We're very happy with the way it's been received.
I feel like it's very well done. I as far as the structure of it and the technical aspects of the assembly of the documentary, I feel like is very well done. I like the choice to intercut some of the gentlemen from the legal side, kind of cold fact explaining, like, this is technically what sexual harassment is. This is technically what sexual assault is. These are right. These need to be defined because at a certain point, this is not an emotional story. This is a court case, and right. These are how these people slip through. Is because there wasn't the exact evidence to prove this particular crime. The thing that struck me, and right. I feel like this has to be a fallout from the Me Too movement, I would assume, the change in statute of limitations for California. I would really hope is the kind of game change that maybe we could have seen after Wallace K. I assume that is only for things that happen from, I guess, 2017 forward. But I would right. think going forward now, there's not a wait 10 years and you're all clear.
I hope so. And, I hope, hopefully all these measures that come about now and all the things that come through from the Me Too movement, people speaking out, the thing with Bill Cosby, all this other stuff, hopefully it all brings about a healthier, happier work environment for all of us, even those in other professions. Because you know what? It's hard enough to go out there and work. It's hard enough for women to compete in what still is quite often a man's world. And, we're fighting for equal wages. We're fighting for everything like that. At least we can be safe in the workplace. That right. would be a big thing. And also for men. We don't want to exclude you guys because this does happen to men, too, and particularly in Hollywood, to gay men, from gay producers, gay casting directors. It's, that's a whole other film.
Yeah.
That is definitely a problem as well.
Terry Crews speaking out and catching some backlash against the masculine image for doing so.
Absolutely. So we don't mean to, just talk about the women. It does exist for men too.
Yeah. But no, I feel like the split is definitely heavier towards the women's side.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I was really struck with the female officer that wore a wire with Wallace K, talking about knowing her training, knowing that she had a surveillance team outside the door, knowing that she had a safe word and a wire, and still feeling like, I'm going to be raped before they get in here. What would what would an 18 or 19-year-old off the bus from Nebraska possibly do in the face of your whole dream evaporating and you going home to your hometown that you just left, or staying in this dangerous situation, if it's making the hair on the officer's neck stand up?
Oh, absolutely. And, Susan Hain, the woman who does this, the retired police officer, she's a real hero because she went in there knowing, she went in there and wore a wire. She put herself up to be hurt, and she was in many ways a victim of the same thing for just the reasons you're talking about. And, she really put her neck on the line to help these women that nobody else was helping. I was brokenhearted when I hear these stories of, because I'm in an industry, I'm in an industry that I love. I love my entertainment industry. I am so blessed and fortunate that I have actually been able to make a living out of something I love to do and something I love and revere. But it was heart-wrenching for me to hear these stories of these young women coming to Hollywood, suitcase in hand, big dreams, and then not only having this guy shatter those dreams, but then to have the one place they can go to for help stomp on the broken shards of their dreams. It's like it somehow that part of it even made it so much worse to me. It's like the one place they had to turn told them to just forget about it.
Yeah.
And that, to me, ripped my heart out.
Watching people take that, what has to be a terrifying step to even report it up one level to your guild, and then say, no, our career advice to you is to shut up. Would just be a devastating loss of power.
I cannot imagine these poor women sitting in an office telling somebody what happened, and then they just say, well, get over it and move on.
It does just break your heart to see people, not just, oh, you shouldn't meet your idols, but it's not even like having one actor tarnished or one agent tarnished. Having the whole of your, entertainment as a dream ruined.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, the union was right. None of those women ended up having much of a career.
Yeah.
And it's sad. The whole thing is sad. The whole story is sad.
Having worked on soaps, having worked on the Bay, have you noticed it in the last few years? The interaction, the dichotomy on set. Have you noticed it change any? Do you feel like people are more cautious or odd or?
Yes. I think people are much more cautious. I think people are being much more careful, and we can only hope that it continues. I don't think these situations are over and done with, unfortunately, but hopefully documentaries like ours are a cautionary tale, and for people who think they can just throw their power around, hopefully they learn a lesson. I mean, that's what we want to project. We want to, that's why we included all the legal comment. We wanted people to know. And as a cautionary tale, look, if this does happen to you, this is what you do. And this is what happened, whether it's sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual harassment. Because I don't know about you, but I interchange those terms all the time without even thinking.
Yes, because I'm not in court.
Very different things. Yeah, and they are very different things. And if you are in that kind of situation, you need to know what it is. You need to know what to do. And we tried to include that.
Yeah.
And to present what these women said in situations so that men and women that come and want to get in the entertainment industry now, if you watch this documentary, it's going to tell you what to try to avoid, how to protect yourself. And that is the best way to do it. If you can keep yourself from getting in those kind of situations, that is the best protection.
Yeah, I felt like it helped kind of do two things very well, the documentary. It both delineated those crimes from one another, because like you say, emotionally telling that story the next morning to someone or a year later to someone, you're not in court. You're just going to describe it the way it felt. Right. But you do need to be clear on which things are which crimes. But separately, anytime I feel like that the more often can be pointed out, hey, that casting couch story you have about Hollywood is actually incredibly gross sexual abuse. And it just so that the more often people can pause and go, ooh, those two things are not the same thing. We can have a Hollywood that is not this not cute, gross story.
Correct.
Because I think right now a lot of people, they don't separate them out. Oh, that's just Hollywood. And no, it doesn't have to be. And the more times that a documentary or that a news story can force people to go, oh, those are two things, those are two circles I have just laid very, very closely over the top of one another. And we can tease those apart. Exactly.
Absolutely. Because this is a great industry. And as I said, it's an industry I love, that I have been very blessed with. But this documentary is in many ways about the people that have not been so blessed, and their stories need to be heard. Also, another reason, you asked me at the very beginning of this why we wanted to do this, because, when the whole Harvey Weinstein thing broke and everything like that, and And people were saying, oh, I'm so shocked. I never knew this went on. I mean, that's baloney. We all knew it went on. Everybody in this industry has known that this goes on. Mm-hmm. And for people to just bold-faced lie and say they don't know is what it is. It's a lie. The truth is it does go on. We've all seen it. We've all known. And it's got to stop, and we have to take care of the people that are even just trying to get into the business that maybe don't succeed, but they should be safe to find that out. They don't need to be traumatized and abused. And because some of these stories are just horrible.
Yeah. And that lie that people just didn't know is what allows it to be like, oh, well, it's just Wallace. Wallace is a scumbag. Hey, you know.
Exactly. And you jump on those people like it's only them. It's only them. No, that's not the case. It's not only them, which is another reason not to use names. No, it's not this guy. It's not that guy.
No, it's
a whole bunch of people.
We've assumed that the industry is like this, and we don't need to keep assuming that, especially when, at least for me, I feel like television has helped push and normalize some really amazingly wonderful societal changes. Just in my lifetime, I mean, going back to things that they were trying to do with Archie Bunker and television has really, I feel like, more than people necessarily give it credit for. I think often it's just vilified, but I really think television has helped push some wonderful attitude changes societally, while at the same time maintaining this blind spot to
itself. A blind spot about itself.
Yes, exactly. And so to turn the camera back a little bit, especially right now at kind of this hopefully tipping point, is wonderful. Thank you for putting this together.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for your support. And please tell everybody to watch it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, for sure.
And we love to hear from people about what they think. Leave us a review. Let us know, because we're in talks to do our next one, and we will listen to what you have to say.
Well, I think it's timely. I also think it's really well done. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.